Well, welcome once again to Bible Talk with Ruth and Becky. It's a cold winter day here in Chattanooga. I hope if it's cold where you are that you have a warm place to be. But be that as it may, let's plunge back into the book of Revelation.
That'll heat you up.
Plunging into Revelation, that'll warm you up. Depends on which chapter you plunge into, but we're getting to some of the warmer ones. Chapter 13. Going to meet two evil beasties. And we'll begin by reading the last verse of chapter 12, as it is in English versions. The dragon Satan has been thrown down to earth, full of fury, and he goes off to make a war on the rest of this woman's offspring, the woman being Israel or the people of God. The offspring would be us. The devil has come down to the earth in great fury. So, Becky, would you read, please, the first four verses of chapter 13?
And I saw the beast rising out of the sea with 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 diadems on its horns and blasphemous names on its heads. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like bears, and its mouth was like a lion's mouth. And to it the dragon gave his power and his throne and great authority. Down to 10.
Down to four.
4. One of its heads seemed to have a mortal wound, but its mortal wound was healed. And the whole earth marveled as they followed the beast, and they worshipped the dragon, for he had given his authority to the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast, and who can fight against it?"
All right, the dragon, Satan, will be calling up two allies, one from the beast and one from the land. We are introduced here to something that was quite well known in the world of the first century church. It's been referred to as the Nero Redivivus myth. You looked a bit puzzled. You want to say something?
You meant to say one from the sea and one from the land.
I thought that's what I said.
Nope, go ahead.
What did I say? What did I say?
One from the beast and one from the land.
One from the sea and one from the land. One of many reasons that you are here to help. You're not just another pretty face. Okay, we'll move on. The myth about Nero, who had apparently committed suicide when he was emperor by plunging his dagger into himself, but a legend grew up that he had really fled from the Roman Empire to the east, where he'd made an alliance with the Parthians, who were the remnants of the Persian Empire that the Romans were afraid of for a long time, and that he would return at the head of a Parthian army and take over Rome again. So that's what the mortal wound that was healed is all about. And when he seemed to have recovered, the world marvels and follows the beast.
So we're certain this is the case.
What is the case?
That this is talking about him.
Well, I'm pretty certain. I don't know anybody else it would be. Do you have something you want to say, or?
No, I'm sure there are controversies.
Not about this, really, that I've come across.
Okay. Well, this I read that sometimes talks about Nero and sometimes talks about Domitian, but Domitian didn't have anything like this happening.
No, he didn't. And Domitian, I've never seen identified as one of these two beasts, but I guess it's possible.
No, I just meant that the time frame.
Well, this would have happened. Nero disappearing would have been maybe 30 years before Revelation.
Okay.
But here he's about to return in the form of this beast, symbolically. Okay, does that clear up anything for you?
But he's definitely Dead.
He's as dead as he could be now, but he was dead then too.
Okay.
I'll begin reading in verse 5. And the beast was given a mouth uttering haughty and blasphemous words, and it was allowed to exercise authority for 42 months. It opened its mouth to utter blasphemies against God, blaspheming his name and his dwelling, or his tabernacle. Also, it was allowed to make war on the saints and to conquer them. And authority was given it over every tribe and people and language and nation. And all who dwell on earth will worship it, everyone whose name has not been written before the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is to be taken captive, to captivity he goes. If anyone is to be slain with the sword must he be slain. Here is a call for the endurance and faithfulness of the saints. Well, the beast has great power. He has 10 horns and 7 heads. A horn, symbolically, in the Old Testament prophecy, stands for power. His 7 heads would mean he has wisdom. And he's identified as a beast who parts of him look like different animals. A leopard, a bear, a lion, and is that it? Yes.
Yeah.
If we're paying attention and know our Old Testament, we recognize these different animal images from an Old Testament book of prophecy.
Daniel.
Daniel, way to go, Becky. There, instead of one beast with these different features, there are several beasts apparently representing successive empires that would come after Daniel's time. But people are worshiping the dragon, and his authority is given to the beast, so they worship the beast as well. And what I just read, he's referred to as well, he has authority over all the tribes and languages, nations of the earth. He utters blasphemies against God and his tabernacle, which probably is also a symbol for the church. And he exercises the authority of the dragon for 42 months. How many years would that be, Becky?
Less than 4.
And more than 3.
Yeah.
3.5. We're entering into the period of the 3.5 years, the beginning of the tribulation, as some people refer to it.
Times and a half time.
Times and half a time. Who gave the beast authority but limited it to 42 months? Kind of a tricky question.
That's a passive tense. The beast was given.
That's right.
So who gave?
Who gave him the authority?
Well, it'd have to be God.
I say it had to be God, although some people would want to jump to saying it was the dragon, because the dragon did give him power and so on and great authority up earlier in the chapter. But God has the dragon and the beast on a short leash, as it were. One of the fundamental themes of this book is God is really in control. And as someone said, may have been Martin Luther, the devil is God's devil. That is, the devil can only do what God permits him to do. You remember the book of Job? God said, go ahead, Satan, and bring suffering to Job, but you can only go this far and no farther. God is in control, so God limits the beast's rule to 42 months. Now that raises all kinds of theological questions. Becky's probably just itching to ask some of them. Why not, Becky?
They are, uh, they're beyond me.
Well, they're even beyond me, if you can imagine that. But it's all part of the mystery of God being in control, even though everything looks like the dragon and the beast is in control. God is limiting what they can do. The beast, with the authority of the dragon, Satan, is exercising rule on the earth for a limited period. By the way, that's bad news for the Romans. All of this, the beast and the dragon, are tied in with the Roman Empire in John's day. And I would say, to expand that, they are behind every authoritarian empire or kingdom on the earth from that time until this
The
one.
dragon and the beast are
That's
behind
why I
it.
say the dragon and the beast. The devil is involved there. But God is limiting them. He is greater than they. But the earth dwellers, there are only two groups of people here as we get into Revelation: those who dwell on the earth and those who are in God's kingdom. The earth dwellers all worship the beast. And I like the way it puts it in verse 8. All who dwell on earth will worship it, everyone whose name has not been written before the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain. Some of us, I'm going to include Becky and me in that, had our names written in the book of life before we ever showed up on this earth. That's what theologians would call predestination.
Another big one.
Yes, and the relationship between predestination and free will is a conundrum that has puzzled the greatest minds of the church. But both are taught, I think, in Scripture. We are free to choose, and we suffer the consequences of our choices, yet God knew us and included us in his kingdom before we were ever born. Maybe when we get to the eternal kingdom, we'll understand it better by and by.
I think it has something to do with quantum physics.
Quantum physics? Don't ask me about quantum
I've
physics.
been listening to Bill Bryson's short history of nearly everything, and quantum physics is one of those things that is absolutely baffling to even to the scientists. They don't know.
Baffles me, but it probably fits into the way the universe is run by God. He knew all about that before the modern scientists did.
Well, he made it. He made it work that way.
Yeah. Now, let's pay attention before we move to the second beast to what it says in verse 9 and 10. If you have an ear, listen up. A saying taken from Jesus when he was teaching in parables, and he says the same thing when he sent the letter to the seven churches. Use your spiritual understanding and discernment to get the message. And the message is some are going to be taken captive. To captivity they go, and some will be slain with the sword. With a sword they will be slain. God's going to permit some of his people to be killed or taken captive, but this is a call for endurance and faithfulness on the part of the saints. Another fundamental message of the book of Revelation: don't quit. Don't give up. It may get bad. You may even have to be faithful to the point of death, but it's going to be worth it. And we'll see the worth it part towards the end of the book. Well, we're not through with our beasties yet. A second one's coming up. I'm going to read 11 through 14 before Becky reads to the end of this chapter. Revelation 13, verse 11. Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. It had two horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. Okay, let's think about that description for a minute. Two horns like a lamb would suggest who?
Christ.
Christ. But the voice of the dragon would suggest
Satan.
the devil. I would say here we have an antichrist, a religious figure who wants to be an imitation Christ. In the Greek language that this letter was written in, anti does not mean opposed to or against. It means in place of. This figure is a false Christ who wants the world to believe that he really is Christ.
Oh, Jesus.
He's a faux Jesus, an imitation Jesus. And he'll be part of the fake news as we get into the tribulation. But his voice gives him away. He really is the devil, or the devil is giving him his power. It exercises all the authority of the first beast on its behalf or in its presence, and makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose mortal wound was healed. This is a religious beast who uses his influence to make people worship the political beast. You've got an authoritarian rule on the earth bolstered up by a fake Christ who makes people worship the beast. And we have seen this kind of antichrist from the time of the Roman Empire until the present. Hitler would be an obvious example, an obvious choice, for example. And his political power was bolstered by religious different kinds of powers. And Stalin was the same in Russia. Communism was really a false religion. And if the people didn't worship Stalin, you could have fooled me. So anytime an authoritarian political power rises up and tries to bring religion in to bolster it, watch out, the book of Revelation says. And I won't go too far into politics with this point, but it's a warning for us.
And it is a despicable, horrendous sin for Christians to become power brokers, and that's all I gotta say.
Becky's gone to preaching. But it has never been a good thing for the church to align itself with particular political power. It wouldn't be too long before the church in the early 4th century became aligned with Rome under Constantine, and I would say things took a turn for the worse for Christianity right away. But we won't get there at this point. Verse 14, and then I'll quit my reading. No, verse 13. This second beast performs great signs, even making a fire come down from heaven to earth in front of people. And by the signs that it's allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that was wounded by the sword and yet lived.
So you're saying that this Antichrist is in support of Nero?
Well, Nero would be the fundamental image, but Nero and his ilk
Yeah.
who would come along, yes.
Okay.
That's what they would be hearing. They would think of Nero, who had persecuted the church, and the Romans expected to come back. But let's just say authoritarian politics supported by false religion is a deadly combination.
Okay.
And the whole earth, whose names are not written in the book of life, will follow the dragon and these two beasts. Okay, Becky, please read from verse 15 to 18, the end of the chapter.
And it was it, meaning the beast, I guess, was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast. No, it was Antichrist.
Well, the second beast gives
Okay.
breath to the image of the first beast.
Okay. So that the image of the beast might even speak and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. Also, It causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
We come at last to the 666. However, if you have a Bible that has footnotes in it, it might tell you at this point that some of the early manuscripts of Revelation have the number as 616, 616. Well, we're going to go with the majority that have understood this over history to be 666. But unfortunately, we don't have time today to explain the meaning of 666. You'll just have to tune in for the next episode. Notice, by the way, that this is a human number, or the number of a man, this translation says. And we're to calculate. If we have wisdom, we're going to calculate the meaning of this number. This number is branded on people's foreheads and on their hands. These beasts, with the power of the dragon, control commerce throughout the world, so that you can't do business unless you're marked with the number of the beast. Is this a microchip implanted under our skin?
Oh, it's a COVID vaccine.
Is it the COVID vaccine? Is it a universal credit card with the number 66 on it? Whoa, we'll just have to wait, but I'll guarantee to explain this to everyone's satisfaction, or your money cheerfully refunded. Which reminds me, don't send money. God bless you.
Leave them hanging.
That's right.